So, is waiting for physio detrimental if you have an injury or a problem? Now, obviously at this moment in time with the virus and everything else going around, of course, there is a lot of issues around this problem. A lot of people are delaying physio or putting it off, even though there is obviously the online and the telephone versions of physio that we're offering, and other practices do the same. But people don't obviously necessarily either know that this exists, or are not thinking that it's as effective as the real face-to-face version of physio. So they are putting it off, and some people are shielding and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, as a physio, you're going to expect me to say that getting physio sooner is obviously better and delaying it is worse. But what does the research on this actually say? And we looked at some research here which looked at musculoskeletal conditions, which are basically conditions of the body that physios treat, like bad backs and tennis elbow and tendon problems and sprains and strains and so on and so forth, basically. And they were looking at the effect on pain, the effect on function, the effect on psychological issues, and also the effect on healthcare utilization going forwards, and the cost of this as well. It's not obviously just as simple as the individual effects, it's also wider than this as well. And yes, this was a systematic review, so they looked at lots of reviews and studies, and then they worked out obviously overall what the data was suggesting. And basically it was fairly categorical, and they showed that if you delayed physio, you had an adverse effect on pain, function, quality of life, and also on psychological issues too. The other thing they found was that it increased healthcare utilization, and it also therefore increased the cost. Now, I've seen this already in real terms, where patients who usually have come to me with a condition that's flared up in the past have usually taken 1 or 2 sessions to resolve, and they've taken longer to resolve because basically they went longer before they accessed treatment and intervention, and therefore this cost them more money and more time, and it took more healthcare utilization. Now, obviously that's in the private sector, but in the NHS this is the same as well. This is also why the guidelines obviously still state that physiotherapy, even in the height of the virus, was still to be done, but obviously with certain caveats, as the guidelines state. And this is because if we just blanketly said we couldn't see people, it would actually cost more money for the NHS, and it would also mean that it would put more pressure on the NHS. Not to mention, individually, people will have more detrimental effects, both physically, quality of life, and obviously also from a psychological standpoint as well. Again, that's a big issue currently also, the psychology behind all of this. But anyway, that was a systematic review. So this is fairly concrete information with regards to not putting off going for physio. So if you are in need and it seems to be legitimately called for, then obviously this is the way to go. Get it earlier, nip it in the bud, and you'll do better for it in the long term. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.